to the Rise and Align podcast, where we talk about all things high vibrational. We are your hosts. My name is Halie.
And I'm Demi, and we wanted to let you guys know that we are releasing episodes every other week now. But that said, this one is for the guys. So if you're a woman, it can be helpful to listen to this episode just to be kind of clear on what you want. But if you are a man, this will be very helpful if you've ever wondered what women want. So let's get into it. I think all women naturally are attracted to certain traits in men. And here's what they are. So the first one I would say, and this is one of the most important, is leadership. I feel that a man is not only naturally physically strong, but built to lead because of that, and to kind of create like a safe container for the feminine, because men and women have different jobs within a relationship and within society. And if a woman can rely on a man to lead the relationship forward, as well as lead in the relationship, like make plans, like make reservations and drive and do the more masculine kind of things to make her feel safe and taken care of, then she can really blossom into her femininity and become like this place of peace and love for the man. And that kind of creates that perfect magnetism and balance within a relationship. So leading is so important, and it shows that a man is capable, they are responsible, they are stable, they are driven, they're thinking about the future, and they're going to create a really stable, safe environment for the woman.
Mm-hmm. I think that's such a great introduction to this topic, because in my perspective, I feel like our society has kind of an imbalance in masculine and feminine energies. And I think that in the end, women want to be able to feel safe enough to connect back to their feminine energy. And I feel like the way that society is today, that isn't the case. We're not in a position where we feel safe to be in our feminine energy. So I think having a man who is in their masculine energy, embodying their masculine energy, is like the ultimate goal. And leadership is one of the traits of a man who is embodying his masculine energy. So I think it's just super important for a man to embody the energy of the divine masculine, because when they're doing that, the woman they're able to blossom and feel safe to be themselves and feel safe to open up in the relationship even further and to create something that is more divine, I feel like. So just starting off with that is, to me, I think one of the top things. It's so important. And also to think about, if they're planning for the future or wanting to create a space where there is a future and they're leading you into that, you're also looking at them as someone who can be a leader for a child too. Like if you plan to have children together, like being able to create an environment where he can be looked up to by the child as well, and where you can have a family environment where you have someone that is a leader that you can look to feel safe or protected or secure or stable, whatever it is. Like you have that like masculine role within the family,
and to rely on them. That I think is just so meaningful. And it's interesting because in the Bible they say that women were created from Adam's rib. And my boyfriend and I will like kind of bicker about this jokingly, because it's like, well, I think God was a woman, because we create life. But in a way, that does make a lot of sense to me, because one, the rib cage protects the heart physically. And two, when a man creates that protection, that safety, and that sacred space for a woman, it's like it ignites her. It does create the feminine energy. When a woman doesn't have that and they're kind of stuck being all, doing all, being their own husband, not asking for help, being a super hyper independent, paying all the bills and also being the mom and cooking and cleaning and doing absolutely everything, it leaves her really stuck in her masculine energy and really unable to receive and unable to be soft and gentle and mothering in the way that we naturally are. So it's just so important. And I think some men, if they aren't in their masculine, if they aren't comfortable in that energy, will be almost offended. Like, why do I need to lead the relationship? Like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to make plans. But because that is the job of the masculine, and because when you do it, you're going to receive equal or more energy in exchange. It's not an uneven exchange, and it's not a taking or a draining, but rather it becomes very energizing to be in a relationship that has a balanced energy within it. For both people. And I think it's obvious when a woman is not in a relationship like that, it really will drain a woman so much. Like, if we have to be the mom and the housekeeper and the provider and everything, you get super stressed out. Like, you're not soft, you're not gentle, you're controlling, you're angry, you're constantly in your masculine, you're stressed out, you're tired, and it creates so much stress and chaos within a relationship. So if you are a man and you feel kind of pressured by your woman, it's probably because she's anxiously attached and she's maybe in her masculine energy. So that's something, women need to work on individually as well. But if you can create a safe space for her and be that leader and be that stability, you'll probably see her become a lot more peaceful and gentle and open.
And not to mention, it is scientifically proven that a woman's nervous system cannot handle as much as a man. And I think that, the feminism movement at its core is great. But I think that we've almost taken it like a step too far. We're trying to be a man. We're living in, the daily cycle of a man. Like, a man's circadian rhythm runs day to day, whereas a woman's runs approximately 28 days. We're not meant to do the same thing every day. We're not meant to have such high stress jobs. We're not meant to necessarily work 9 to 5. We're meant to be able to flow through our cycle or our flow. Whereas a man's nervous system can handle more. It can hold the stress more than a woman. So if you have a man that is able to take some of that off of the woman and her nervous system is able to rest, she's not living in fight or flight, she's not living in this scarce or just really chaotic energy, she's naturally going to be able to relax, surrender, and tap more into who she really is. But it's hard to do that when you are stressed or past what your nervous system can handle, because when you are past what you can handle, you cannot function properly, and
you can't be your best self. You're not at peace, you're not happy, you're not pure love, light, energy, which is what we naturally are. And I think that the kind of negative side of the feminism movement is teaching women that we don't need men, and in doing that, it becomes quite difficult to receive from a man. And I think that masculine men naturally want to help. They naturally want to help you. They naturally want to make you happy and protect you. And when they love a woman, you'll see men just adore and do anything to just make them happy. They see that flowers make you happy, and then they bring you flowers, and they genuinely want to do those things for you. So when you're saying no, don't open the door for me, no, don't pay for the meal, no, don't do this, don't do that, it's they feel that they have no purpose in your life. And it's interesting, psychologically speaking, if you do a favor for somebody, you'll like them more than if they do a favor for you. so it's really interesting if you're allowing a man to help you with things, even if it's little, like opening the door or carrying groceries or something like that. You're giving them a purpose, and you're allowing, like, you're taking stress off of yourself that you don't unnecessarily need to have, and you're allowing them to help you, and they will fall in love with you if you let them in, if you let them help, if you let them make you happy, if you are pleasable and receiving to that. But a man who does those things naturally, it's like, how do you not attracted to that? It's the best. I love masculine men. Like, you're great. Some other things I wrote down, obviously being trustworthy, and I feel like that is part of leadership. Like, if you think about business wise, say the leader of a company has to be trustworthy, has to be reliable, has to be stable. They can't run a company if they don't have those qualities, and you can't really lead a relationship if you don't have those qualities either. It takes consistency. And I think that men who are maybe not like in a healed masculine state will be more passionate, faster moving, but not stable, not consistent, more chaotic. And maybe they'll love bomb you, and maybe they think that they really want something with you, but they really don't even know you yet. I think a wonderful sign of a masculine man is that they will be consistent, but not too fast. Like, they're consistently growing and leading, and they're calm. They're peaceful. They're not giving you anxiety. You're not wondering if they're going to text you in 10 minutes or in 4 days or, in 3 weeks or whatever. It's very consistent, and they'll communicate clearly with you. And I love, and I'm not saying that a man should have to do this, because it will take a lot of their energy if you're constantly like making them ask you what's wrong. But if a man notices that you're not happy and asks, what's wrong? How can I fix it? How can I make it better? I think that's such a good quality, because I've seen it where relationships will escalate negatively if, like, say the woman is mad and she's not talking to him, and he says, what's wrong? And a lot of us will be like, nothing. Guilty. And I don't mean to do that. I don't think it's healthy. I think you should always openly communicate with your partner. But if you are in that mood and you say, like, nothing's wrong, and they're like, okay, whatever, and then they leave or something, it just escalates in a negative way. But if that man is calm and communicating openly with you and wanting to fix the problem, or repair the relationship, like, that is a keeper. That's a really good quality.
Yeah. And someone who notices or is attentive enough to realize that something's wrong or something's off, something's not right. And then having like the courage or the leadership aspect to be able to like initiate that conversation in a way that is calmer, in a way that's not confrontational. Because I think when confrontational I think that can be very triggering for women, especially if, they have certain like wounds that they haven't healed yet, or like, certain experiences that they've gone through. Like, I think that can be very triggering, even if they're not meaning to come from, like a condescending way or whatever. Like, I just think that if they can do it in a way that is coming from kindness and thoughtfulness and attentiveness versus like a little more confrontational,
aggressive, like,
yeah.
So, which brings me to another trait that I wrote down, which is gentle. And I feel like masculine men have a really beautiful balance of like tenderness with their woman and gentleness with their woman and also their children, but can be more strong or more aggressive, like where they need to be, like maybe at work or in a situation where it calls for it. Because I agree, it's very triggering for a lot of us if a man is coming on aggressive, and men together will communicate aggressively. I think that that's normal for them, but to your woman, like, be gentle.
Yes. Okay.
Be
I love
gentle.
that. Like the idea of, and not like in a mean way, but like a man who can be like assertive or aggressive, or, again, being more of a leader, especially to like others.
Yes.
But then to you, they're like, they treat you like more of a princess.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, it's not saying that sometimes when a man's leading, they're going to have to tell you like, hey, we're doing this, or we should do this or something. And you have to allow them to do that. You have to allow them to do that. But it is really helpful if they are gentle and loving in their communication with you. It's so much easier to receive.
Yeah. And that does bring it to another point of like, there does need to be that like underlying like slightly assertiveness. Like I can't think of like a better word at the moment, but not like too soft, you know? Like still have to carry some of that like,
you need a backbone.
Yeah.
And like, don't tell me what to do, but tell me what to do.
Exactly.
See, I understand why it's hard to understand women, but this is why we're doing the episode for you. Another trait I wrote down that I think is kind of part of being masculine and being a leader is being healthy, like having healthy habits, having a zest for life, being adventurous, taking care of yourself. Like if you have addictions, like that's a huge turn off. But if you are healthy, if you eat healthy, if you go outdoors, you know, you have activities that you're into, if you go to the gym, anything like that, massive turn on.
Totally. And even just doing things that make you want to be better too, or that, you know, you guys can kind of build a life where you both offer ways that you can be better, or grow, or be healthier, or things that you can do together that are healthy. Like it's so exciting and inspiring to do something that is way more high value with your partner instead of like just going out to drink or like, you know, things that just are not good for you.
Yes, 100% agree. Like ambitious and expansive. Like if you are working on bettering yourself or your life, if you're building a kingdom for yourself, that is something that women really, really want and really are naturally attracted to. And I think that those are natural qualities of a masculine man. That's what they want for themselves. Like they have enough self-respect and like they care about their well-being enough that they are building that not just to attract a woman but for themselves. And that's really attractive when you care about yourself. And I also wrote down not just about like growth and, you know, learning new things and being ambitious, but also taking care of yourself, like caring about your appearance and how you feel and, you know, dressing well and doing things that are going to be good for you because you want to, because you like doing that is very attractive. If you are a slob and you're lazy and have bad addictions and stuff, it's like, oh.
Yeah. And again, these habits that they have or these traits, like this is what they're going to pass on or teach their children. So it's like you want someone that you feel comfortable like having a kid with who can teach them ways that you would want your child to grow up and how you would want them to live and what you want them to learn from. Like, I think that's important to think about too.
Super, super. And like, that said, it's also fair to say that men and women are going to have differences. We do think differently. You know, we do have different qualities. And I think that there are different, like, jobs of a man and a woman to teach to a child and to be. There are different roles to be to a child between a man and a woman. And I think it's really important that you have both. Like, I think you will notice, I've definitely noticed working with people, that if a person grows up with both their father and their mother, they'll be a more balanced person, especially if those two were in a healthy relationship. They're more likely to attract a healthy relationship and to understand what that is like to have that peace and balance within a home. Whereas if you didn't have that, you might have more trouble because you don't know how it feels to have that within your life or within your home, to have that balance. It's so important, especially for women, to like have a dad who is that balance of leader and gentle and, you know, provider and kind of protector. If a little girl has that, then that's what they seek out naturally in a man. I also wrote having strong priorities and making you one of them. I think that's so important. And also with time. Like if you met this person yesterday and you're their number one priority and they want to spend every day with you, that's a red flag. Yeah. It's a red flag.
Yeah, that is a red flag to me too. Yeah, for sure. Like I wouldn't trust that person.
No, they need to have their own priorities and have those straight so that you can rely on them to build a future with you. And, you know, like we said, a future for your family, your children as well. Patience, I think, you know, everyone needs it, but women, you know, we do go through a cycle every month. Sometimes our hormones make us a little more difficult to handle, you know? And if a man is patient with that and can recognize, like, okay, she's just moody right now because it's like that time of month, no excuse. You should always be kind. But, you know, to recognize, like, oh, she's stressed out about this right now because that's that time of month, you know, and this is when she gets like that. And to be patient and kind rather than frustrated and, you know, angry or aggressive about that will change the dynamics of a relationship 100%.
Right. Or like take it personally, like think it's about them or something. Like if you can be like a little sassy or go through moments in your cycle where, you know, you are a little more like agitated or feisty or whatever you want to, whatever, if they can just roll with it, like, and go with it and still like do what they can to, you know, still make you feel good and feel supported, like that's so much better than them being like, why are you mad at me, or why what's this, like feeling like making it about them instead of just like, just go with it. Okay.
Yeah. I feel like the masculine is like grounded and stable, and the feminine is more flowing and wild, right? They're more like earth and we're more like water, air. So to have that balance is very grounding for the relationship. And it also, I can say as a woman, if a man receives me that way, even when I'm not being so easy, it's like, oh, he's my safe place. So instead of like being frustrated with him or not wanting to talk to him or open up to him, I'll be like, oh, it's safe to be vulnerable here. Yeah. And when I'm stressed out, instead of, you know, maybe ignoring him or being moody or whatever, I'll open up to him and be like, babe, like all this is going on. And likely they'll be like, oh, let me help you with this, you know, let me help make it better. And it makes the relationship so good. So
Absolutely. Good. I love that.
What else did I write here? I think there is a massive sign, I mean, always how you feel, right? But how you feel within a relationship. I think that if you feel tired and worn out when you're with somebody, it's a huge red flag, because a masculine man who is safe and allowing you to be in your feminine, you're going to feel really energized and you're going to want to naturally add to his life. It's not going to be draining for you. But if you're feeling drained, there is an imbalance in the relationship, definitely.
That's a really good point. Also, just being with someone that you can feel comfortable not talking or not doing something, like where you feel like safe enough and comfortable enough to just like be together. Like it doesn't always have to be a big thing or a big conversation or watching this or going here, where you can just literally hang out and feel safe together and comfortable enough to just be.
Also holds healthy boundaries and is respectful of your boundaries as well as you as a person in general, like, you know, not speaking disrespectfully or disrespecting your time or anything like that, holding you in a high regard and respecting you, but also holding their own boundaries. So, you know, if they need to be taking care of their other priorities, they're going to say like, hey, I'm sorry, like I really want to see you, whatever, but I need to do this for myself. Like, and also having their own life, like their own hobbies, and not needing to be codependent to be with you all of the time, but to encourage you to have a social life and to have your own hobbies and your own things to do, and also having their own and being okay with that. If somebody is like, I don't ever want you to go out without me, or, you know, mad that you're going to hang out with your friends or whatever it might be, that's a red flag. Like you have to have your own time, whether that be alone or with your friends or whatever, but to have that healthy balance in a relationship where you trust each other enough that you are still growing as individuals and then coming back together to share that.
Mm-hmm. That's something that I wanted to touch on too. It can be really restrictive if that your partner is more controlling, or they're just like wanting to be with you all the time, because like to me that just makes me feel really like tight and like frustrated and like stuck.
It's so much pressure. Like,
it is a lot of pressure, and it is attractive for a man to have hobbies and things that they are passionate about and excited about, and outside of you, outside of the relationship. And I think it's also very like freeing, freeing in that like women, the feminine energy is a little more wild. It's more flowy. They have the freedom to like flow, like be with their friends, do what they want, like feel whatever they feel called to, like they can do it and not feel like, oh, he's gonna be mad at me, or oh, like I have to be home by this time. You can just do your thing, but also like have the like you have the relationship, but you have your own lives separate, which I mean, you kind of already said that, but like you get to be your own person, I guess is what I'm trying to say, is like it's so important to have your own identity, be your own person. And just as like a side note is like, if you ever break up with the person, like you're still whole without them. And I think it's so important to be able to know that you can be whole without this other person. And that's not to say that like, you know, you won't feel heartbroken or whatever. Like you can still experience heartbreak, but know that you're whole. You're still whole without this person, because that creates like a really like toxic situation if you are very attached to one another. And like I think it becomes to a point where like the relationship is, you guys are staying together just because it's like comfortable, or if you're just like attached.
Yes, you get so used to that. It's codependency. It's really, it's codependency. So, you know, that's part of maintaining a healthy relationship and maintaining your sense of self. And I think if you don't do that, you cannot have a healthy long-term relationship. It's so important that you, and it comes down to law of attraction again, because think about this. If you feel reliant on the other person for your happiness, well, they're going to disappoint you all the time. That's what other humans do. And so if you are responsible instead for your own happiness, and you're still having your own life, and you're pursuing your own interests and your hobbies, and you're hanging out with your friends and family, and you're still doing things other than being hyper attached to this person and like staying stuck in the house and never doing anything together at all, you're going to be happy. You're going to be acting out of that, radiating that, and attracting that within your life. And when you're doing that, it attracts that within your partner as well. Whereas when you both become reliant on each other, it's draining. You're like taking the energy from each other, and you're not growing, you're not expanding, and you're not remaining aligned. You're not holding on to your own sense of self and your own sense of self-worth. Your worth then becomes reliant on the relationship. So if you struggle with codependency, a massive key to that is to make sure that you are keeping that balance within the relationship, and that your happiness is dependent on you and not that other person.
Yes, that's so good. And I think it's important to also say, like, for a man to, it's great for him to have his own life, have his own hobbies, have his own friends, but to still make you a priority.
Yes.
To not put John, his buddy John, knew him in 5th grade, hasn't talked in 10 years, but makes him a priority. Like, no.
Yes.
I still want to be like the priority. And, you know, if it comes down to it, like, if there's a scheduling conflict, like I want that person to choose me. Like I still want to feel like I'm the priority, but still have their own life.
Yes. Yes. So I agree. There has to be that balance. Obviously, given like whatever situation is going to change that, maybe like say that he has a funeral to go to. That's not something that can happen anytime. But if it's like, oh, John wants to go bowling, but it's your mom's birthday party that we planned 3 weeks ago or something, like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you're at the end of the day, your partner is going to be your life partner. That's who
Mm-hmm.
you're growing with. That's who you're raising a family with. That's who you're going to be with your whole life. So they have to be your priority. And for men, I think men will prioritize like future and business, whereas women will prioritize love a little bit more than they do business or anything like that, and family. But you have to put your partner first. Like, I don't, I think that your partner has to be your priority if you want to grow life with them. It just
Yeah.
has to be that way.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you're ignoring your own wants and needs or
Mm-hmm.
choosing them over important things. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there has to be that balance and that communication and the agreement within that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they definitely have to be your priority. And one more thing that I've noticed trending within society is some people will speak negatively about relationships. They'll fear them. They'll say, I don't believe in marriage. They'll say, oh, you're a simp. You're catching feelings. And that's like a negative thing.
Mm-hmm.
A massive green flag for a man who is actually a masculine man is they want marriage, they want commitment, they want a family, they want long term. And you will notice that so many men who are super successful have that partner who supports them and who has grown with them and who has stayed by their side and encouraged them the whole way. And I think, one, we know psychologically people live longer if they're in a healthy relationship by like 20 years. Whereas, if you're not in a relationship or you're not in a healthy relationship, it's going to take years off your life. It'll actually do the opposite. So, yeah, a massive green flag is a man who is pro relationships and wanting that long term and that growth with somebody,
Mm-hmm.
and who is open to solving those relationship issues and recognizing like a relationship's not going to be perfect, but wanting to work through those things with you rather than just immediately avoiding and running away.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. I think that is really important to look for if you are wanting a long-term relationship. Like, I know if you're not at that place where
Mm-hmm.
you're looking for that, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Do your thing. But if you're wanting to settle down or you are ready for that partner, like, that's definitely something that you need
Mm-hmm.
to be looking for in someone. I think that it's also important to me to have someone that is not worried, I guess, about what other people think, or they don't take on their opinions about like your relationship. Obviously, I think it's
Mm-hmm.
important for a man to have other friends or relationships where they feel comfortable to talk about things with, and if they want to talk about the relationship with other people, but one, keeping like certain things
Sacred. Mm-hmm.
personal, private, and then also not taking other people's opinions so seriously about the person that they're with. I want them to make up their own mind and their own decision about their relationship and not be so reliant on what their friends think or what their family thinks. And obviously it is important, but I think that a boundary kind of needs to be set with that, and
Mm-hmm.
they need to be able to go after what they truly want and not hyperfixate on what other people are thinking about their relationship, or they're not allowing like other people to have like a say in the relationship. I guess.
Yes. So important. And I think it's interesting because a lot of men who are not completely in their masculine have like a codependent mother who put too much emotional stress on them. And so because of that, their mom is still like hyper codependently attached to them and will often be judgmental of their partners. And then that causes them to create a rift within the relationship because, oh, well, my mom doesn't like her and I have to prioritize my mom over her, and that will ruin a relationship. It's interesting because I think it is a quality of a man who is a leader and a masculine man to value their own opinion and be in touch with how they feel more than like worrying about what other people think or allowing other people to change the way that they're going to act within a relationship. But I also think it's important that women do the same thing. I know that I've had relationships affected because, and by no one's fault, but I will, and I try not to do this as much, but I will talk about my relationship to my friends because that's a pretty normal thing to do, you know, to open up about things. And if your friends don't have a super healthy attachment style or a super healthy relationship, they might have a perspective that can hurt your relationship. So it's really important that instead of always asking other people for advice and you know, especially bringing things to other people that should be sacred within your relationship, that you come in tune with yourself, that you align with yourself and your own intuition and really get in touch with how you feel and act from that, rather than asking other people like, what should I do? How should I act? Especially like I always say this, but take into consideration who you're asking and, you know, what their knowledge and experience is like in the field that you're asking about, because, you know, it does make such a difference. The perspective will change, and it's not that they don't want the best for you. It's just that that's the experience they've had.
Yeah, totally.
Definitely. So, I mean, we named quite a few things. I think overall, to reiterate, women want a masculine man, a man who is a leader, who's stable, who's a provider, protector naturally, and communicates well, is trustworthy, and who's expansive, who's growing themselves and building a kingdom. And that's really it. That's really it.
Makes you laugh.
Yes, makes you laugh is great. I think bringing humor into a conversation that could otherwise be quite difficult can really change the dynamic, as well as being affectionate. I actually heard a psychologist talking one day about how if you hold hands with your partner when you're having a difficult conversation, you are more likely to like solve it and agree. And my partner does that with me all the time. And I really do think it does make a difference. There's one more thing that I didn't mention, and that is thoughtfulness and good listening skills. So we kind of touched on it earlier when we were like, you know, if a man notices, they pay enough attention to you that they know that something's wrong, green flag. But another thing is, if a man is truly into you and they want to make you happy, they're going to be thoughtful and they're going to listen. So if you say, I absolutely love roses and they make me so happy, and they get you roses, massive green flag. They're listening to what you say. Now, if a man is like, I hate making plans, I don't know where you want to eat, like blah, blah, blah. If you're one of those men, listen to your woman. Pay attention to what she sends you on Instagram. Pay attention to if she's like, oh, I heard this new restaurant just opened. It looks really good. Think about that when you're trying to make plans. Like, oh, she mentioned she really wanted to go hiking there. She wanted to go on a trip here. And then make the plans off that. Because if you are doing that, it means the world to a woman when you're paying attention and you're being thoughtful and you're truly listening to what she wants. You will be able to get a woman to do anything you want if you are that man who is thoughtful and is a good listener. That's really it.
Yeah, and it's so special when, you know, you're not expecting it and he does something or brings you somewhere, or what might it be that you had talked about, maybe not yesterday, but like a month or 2 or 3 months ago, and he remembered that, and like you're like, oh my gosh, he really does listen to me.
Yes.
And
it can be simple. It doesn't have to be big. It can be like, oh, you know, this is my favorite kind of ice cream. And then like, oh, that time of the month comes around and you bring home her favorite kind of ice cream. If you surprise me like that, oh my God, I'll melt in your arms. I'll do whatever you want. Like that, those little things are so meaningful to a woman. And I think that that's a massive key to success.
Yes. Yes. that is how you get the woman of your dreams, because when you're acting from your masculine energy, she'll balance it out with her feminine energy, and there's nothing more divine or special than that. So
fulfilling. Really. Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, that said, we'll pull a card for you.
Oh yeah. All right, we're pulling from the Starseed Oracle. Never lets you down. So
Always spot on. Okay, so the card is the 7 Star Sisters, Birthing Creations, Tapestry of Life, Expression. And the picture is, if you are watching the video, you might be able to see it. It is kind of in space. It's black with stars in the background, and then 7 women dancing. And it's kind of like, they look like souls. They don't look like an actual picture of a woman, but like spirits dancing around.
Yes. So I don't know if you already said, but the main themes around the card are birthing creation, tapestry of life, and expression. And it says there are new creations that want to be born, beauty that's yearning to be woven, new consciousness that's longing to be breathed into life. If you draw this card, you're being called to surrender to these creations, to usher in a new era of consciousness, and do your bit in weaving the web of life. This is the card of the artist and the midwife. You're being called to ponder questions. What wants to be birthed through you? What new creations are whispering in your ear? What beauty are you being called to make? Creativity and intuition come from the same sacred place. They occur when we find ourselves flowing with the rest of life. Earth is renowned as a planet of manifestation and creativity, and yet so many of us have forgotten how to create. Somewhere along the way, we stopped seeing ourselves as artists, as creatives, as poets. Yet to be human is to be creative. Creativity is part of your true nature. Perhaps you're being called to surrender to a creative project, such as a new business or a book. Perhaps you're being called to weave beauty in your home or in a way you cook. Regardless of the end result, you're being called to express yourself through your creativity, to surrender to the creative projects that both scare and excite you, to find a way to weave beauty back into everyday life. For where there's creativity, spirit and soul are present, and the world needs those qualities more now than ever before. What new creations are you being called to birth?
Okay, so I personally feel like that is a wonderful card representing the divine feminine, because women are the creators of life, and they are very intuitive and very imaginative, and will create those things within your life and your home if given the opportunity to step into their feminine energy. Like they talked about, decorating the home and bringing that positive energy into the home and putting it into the food and the meals that they make and the lives of their children and loved ones. That is what the divine feminine will do.
Yep, that's exactly the message I was getting as well. So that's such a great way to end this episode. Thank you guys so much for listening as always. Let us know what you would like to hear next from us. Make sure to like, subscribe, leave a review, whatever platform that you are on. We're so grateful for you, and we'll see you in our next episode.
Bye.
Bye.